If you accuse the government of changing the figures supplied to them by Treasury, and the head of Treasury says, no, that didn't happen, surely you must accept that there was no manipulation.
David, this was a question that I was putting, and the opposition were probing this government. What I'm saying to you is we've got a really unfortunate situation developing where, at a time of great pressure on the world economy and in our economy, we've got a government which is employing techniques to avoid probing and avoid questioning. We will not be silenced by this government and its techniques to avoid any serious questioning. In fact, government decisions would be improved immensely if they would engage, if they would allow themselves to be accountable, to be questioned, and the way in which they used Ken Henry as a human shield rather than addressing the issue themselves was again another example of it.
Okay, I want to move on, but just to clarify, are you still unsure as to whether there's manipulation, or are you satisfied there was not?
Well, I'm satisfied with Ken Henry's answer, and that was the answer that the government should have been giving, and it should have been, we should have had the opportunity to ask more questions of the government about not only that document but other documents.
Now, COAG, if I can get you to put your hat on as the Shadow Minister for COAG. The West Australian Treasurer, Troy Buswell, today has said that he wasn't invited to a meeting of State Treasurers by the other Labor State Treasurers. He is, of course, the only Liberal State Treasurer from Western Australia. This meeting 2 weeks before the next COAG meeting, I've tried to seek comment from Wayne Swan's office. They said they didn't have anything to do with this meeting of State Treasurers. The New South Wales Treasurer, Eric Rusendale's office, has not returned our calls. What's your reaction to this? Do you think there was a snub there of the Liberal State Treasurer?
Well, it's more than a snub. It's a really concerning development. This is a secret meeting of State Treasurers where they have explicitly avoided inviting the Liberal government of Western Australia. Clearly, it is a meeting designed to divvy up the billions of dollars that the federal government is intending to spend within the COAG context. And I just say to you, at a time of great pressure in the world economy and the Australian economy, putting the Labor Party, as these treasurers have done, putting their Labor Party and their political skins ahead of the interests of Australians is a disgrace. And, you know, we must have a situation where, at a time of great pressure, these people are looking to the interests and the future and the lives and the jobs of every Australian, not just their own jobs, their own political skins.
But it wouldn't be the first time ahead of, or a couple of weeks ahead of COAG, that the Labor Treasurers or Premiers or the Liberal Treasurers or Premiers do get together and have a bit of a caucus, a powwow before they get into the full COAG meeting. It wouldn't be the first time this has happened.
Look, this is off the back of Tuesday's New South Wales government mini-budget, where they effectively scrapped a whole host of projects that last week were 100% their responsibility, road and rail projects, and said now they're the Commonwealth's responsibility. In other words, the 12 years of reserves and surpluses that have been built up by sensible economic management have been basically lost in 12 months, and what is left they're looking to use as a slush fund to bail out failed Labor governments. And I'd say this secret meeting, no press allowed, no publicity given to it, excluding the state of Western Australia, the Liberal government, is an attempt to divvy up those funds to save their political skin. New South Wales government in particular is just a disgrace. It is finished. It is on the nose. It is costing New South Wales residents, billions of dollars in mismanagement and failed management, and it's just a great concern to see this sort of political game playing going on when, they need to be looking after the interest of every Australian.
Now, I want to ask you finally about your other portfolio area, the emissions trading scheme. The government this week facing some serious questions from big resources companies, Nearstar and Woodside, threatening to take jobs offshore if this carbon trading scheme goes ahead as planned. At the end of the day, though, do you think these resources companies should be made to clean up their act, or should we bow to them every time they threaten to take jobs offshore?
Well, David, Penny Wong and Kevin Rudd and all the rest have said, including Ross Garnaut, They've said ad nauseum, there is no Australian solution to climate change, there is a world solution. We have to do something in concert with the rest of the world. And what we have said, what's happened over the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, has confirmed the very fears we've had. We've said if this development of this emissions trading scheme is rushed, if it is rushed, then they will get it wrong. The government will get it wrong, and we will see Australian jobs, but as importantly, Australian emissions being exported to places like China and India, where we will make the environment worse because there'll be more CO2 going into the atmosphere. Look, the government has got a political agenda on this, not an economic agenda. Again, they're trying to save political skins. Lindsay Tanner in Melbourne, Anthony Albanese, Tanya Plibersek, people who are under threat from the Greens at the next election. They're trying to rush this thing through, get a $10 billion tax in 2010 to balance their books, save their political skins. They are not looking at the interests of Australian business, Australian jobs and the future of the environment for that matter.
Andrew Robb, we will have to leave it there, but good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Dave.